Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon. Yellowstone never explains Thomas Rainwater's backstory, but Taylor Sheridan can still fix that. Taylor Sheridan never revisits Thomas Rainwater's backstory in Yellowstone, but there are still opportunities to rectify Gil Birmingham's character history. The Yellowstone executive producer's flagship work came to an end with Yellowstone Season 5, Part 2, which saw the death of John Dutton i.e. after Kevin Costner's controversial Yellowstone exit. After his death, John's kids handled the family's legacy as best they could, with Case, Luke Grimes, selling the Yellowstone Dutton Ranch to Thomas Rainwater and the Broken Rock Tribe. The events of Yellowstone Season 5, Part 2 had disappointing elements, primarily due to John's death, but the Broken Rock Tribe's win was a triumph. By selling the land back to the ancestors of its indigenous stewards, Case Dutton fulfilled Taylor Sheridan's Yellowstone prophecy from 1883, in which John's ancestor, James Dutton, Tim McGraw, promised Spotted Eagle, Graham Greene, that the Dutton family tree would return the land to the Crow people in 7 generations. Still, we don't get the complete picture of what this triumph means for Rainwater, since Yellowstone never follows up on Thomas' backstory from Season 1. In Yellowstone Season 1, we witness pivotal moments for Thomas Rainwater. In Yellowstone's series premiere, Thomas Rainwater becomes the tribal chairman of the Broken Rock Tribe, taking on the honor and the challenge of restoring well-being to his people. While his mission is misunderstood by his people throughout Yellowstone, Thomas knows that the best thing he can do for them is restore their ownership of the land, thereby restoring their way of life. We learn a bit about Rainwater's background in the pilot, which helps to inform his goals, but our understanding could be even more robust. When becoming chairman of the Broken Rock Tribe, Thomas tells a visiting Montana senator that he didn't grow up on the reservation. Contrasting the scene, as Thomas is adorned in traditional regalia, Rainwater tells the lawmaker that he thought he was Mexican until he was 18 years old, only learning that he was Native American after his adoption records were unsealed in adulthood. Yellowstone Season 1 gives us one more tidbit in Thomas Rainwater's threat to John Dutton, with the chairman saying he studied at Harvard and worked in acquisitions and mergers at Merrill Lynch. After Yellowstone Season 1, we learn little else about Thomas Rainwater's background. However, Thomas plays a pivotal role in the series' conclusion, making the landmark deal with Case Dutton that restores the land to his people. The end of Yellowstone was controversial for many fans who didn't want to see John die or the family lose the land. Understanding more of Thomas' backstory and thereby his motivations could have aided Yellowstone Season 5's reception. Other fans who also watched 1883, thereby gaining a deeper understanding of the Yellowstone finale, viewed its events as a triumph for the franchise. While we didn't get to learn more about Thomas Rainwater's backstory in Yellowstone, Taylor Sheridan could be saving more developments for his upcoming Yellowstone spin-offs. After Yellowstone Season 5's finale, the story will continue for Beth, Kelly Reilly, and Rip Wheeler, Cole Hauser in a Yellowstone offshoot on Paramount+, and Case's story will continue in a procedural series for CBS, tentatively titled Why? Marshals. Thomas could emerge in an upcoming spin-off series, and we could thereby learn more about the tribal leader. His appearance in Case's series is promising, considering the bond he and John's son formed in Yellowstone. Perhaps a more exciting prospect, and one that's more likely, is that we will learn more about Thomas Rainwater's origin story in upcoming Yellowstone continuations that look back at the past, with at least one prequel series in the works and another one in the pipeline. Thomas is presumably connected to 1923's Tina Rainwater, and her story could continue in Sheridan's next prequel, 1944. That said, it's more likely fans will have to wait even longer than 1944's release, with Sheridan's teased 1960s prequel the perfect place to reveal more about Thomas, potentially connecting it to his birth. In a show as layered and explosive as Yellowstone, where every character seems carved from the land itself, scared, proud, and unyielding, it's a curious omission that Thomas Rainwater, chairman of the Broken Rock Reservation and one of the Dutton family's most persistent rivals, remains an enigma. While audiences have been privy to John Dutton's generational burdens, Beth's traumas, and Rip's harrowing youth, Rainwater's backstory remains a quiet storm, hinted at but never fully unleashed. And yet, of all the mysteries Sheridan has spun across the Yellowstone universe, this one might just be the richest vein left untapped. Rainwater, played with dignified restraint by Gil Birmingham, commands attention the moment he appears on screen. He's not a man of loud words or erratic actions. He's strategic, measured, revolutionary even. As the leader of the Broken Rock tribe, his vision for reclaiming ancestral land collides directly with the Dutton Empire, framing him as an antagonist in the early seasons. But viewers quickly realize that he's far more than a foil. He's a visionary operating in a world stacked against him. The problem is, we don't know why. Aside from sparse mentions of being adopted by a white family and discovering his native heritage later in life, Rainwater's formative years remain cloaked in silence. Where was he raised? What fractured him from his roots? How did he go from confused orphan to tribal chairman with political power and economic cunning? These aren't trivial details. They are the very soil from which Rainwater's fire would have grown. And yet, Yellowstone never tells us. This absence feels especially glaring in a series that prides itself on origin stories. Viewers know every twist in the Dutton family's multi-generational legacy. They've even been given a full-blown prequel, 1883, and a follow-up, 1923. We've seen the brutal westward expansion, the cost of survival, and the ethos that built the Yellowstone Ranch. But Rainwater, he is a living echo of those times, the embodiment of what was taken and what remains. And still, Sheridan has left his origin unwritten. But it's not too late. If anything, Sheridan has an opportunity here, one that could enrich the Yellowstone narrative and deepen its portrayal of Native identity in modern America. Thomas Rainwater doesn't just deserve a backstory, he demands one. Imagine a limited series or flashback arc titled Rainwater, chronicling his early years in the foster system. A young boy with brown skin and dark eyes raised in a white suburb, constantly aware of his difference but never knowing why. A high-achieving student who excels academically but feels like a cultural ghost. Then one day, perhaps in his late teens or early 20s, he learns the truth. He was born on the Broken Rock Reservation, but removed as part of a system that quietly erased Native identity through assimilation. This revelation could fracture him, and then forge him. It could lead him to leave behind everything he knows and return to Broken Rock, a stranger among his own people, trying to bridge the chasm of language, tradition, and self-worth. From there, we could watch as he immerses himself in tribal politics, navigating corruption, poverty, and cultural resurgence. We'd see him struggle to earn the respect of elders who view him as whitewashed and youth who see politics as a dead end. Perhaps he mentors a troubled teenager, mirroring his own journey. Perhaps he faces betrayal from someone he trusts deeply. These are the human moments that explain how Rainwater became the man who can stand toe-to-toe with John Dutton and never blink. And it wouldn't just be a story about personal identity. It would be a political thriller, a cultural awakening, and a critique of the American myth. It would show how sovereignty, capitalism, and resistance collide on native land. It would explore tribal casinos not as financial miracles, but as double-edged swords, offering independence at the cost of commodifying sacred land. It would show how Rainwater's decision to align with market equities wasn't greed, but desperation cloaked in strategy. And suddenly, his every move on Yellowstone would carry even more weight. Sheridan has shown he can handle this level of complexity. He's never shied away from brutality, moral ambiguity, or the spiritual cost of empire. But if he truly wants Yellowstone to be a saga about the American West, all of it, he must turn the camera on Rainwater's past. Otherwise, the story risks becoming another tale of white legacy, while the native struggle remains a shadow in the wings.